And tonight on The Future of Everything, we are probably all guilty of it, not putting our phones down, that endless scrolling on our favorite algorithms and apps. Some people even describe it as an addiction. And now, for the first time here in the United States, there's this jury that is about to decide whether that so-called addiction is something social media companies can be held legally liable and responsible for, specifically when it comes to young people. At some point during this trial, it is expected jurors will hear directly from Meta CEO Mark Zuckerberg. And here's what Zuckerberg said under oath before Congress 2 years ago about the effects of social media on mental health. Watch.
With so much of our lives spent on mobile devices and social media, it's important to look into the effects on teen mental health and well-being. I take this very seriously. Mental health is a complex issue, and the existing body of scientific work has not shown a causal link between using social media and young people having worse mental health outcomes.
Again, that was way back in January of 2024, not in front of a jury, not being cross-examined. A Meta spokesperson said in a statement yesterday that the company disagrees with the allegations outlined in the upcoming lawsuit and that it's, quote, confident the evidence will show our longstanding commitment to supporting young people. NBC News legal analyst Misty Marris is joining us on this one. Misty, great to see you. We learned earlier that TikTok, they agreed to settle before trial, and like right before trial. How could that affect this trial moving forward against now Meta and YouTube? Because again, Snapchat settled before this as well, right?
Yeah, so Gotti, right on the courthouse steps, as we say, as they're walking into the trial, we see this settlement likely strategic. Remember, these cases that are going to trial right now, this is the first of many, many cases that are waiting in the wings. It's called a bellwether case, and in the law, that means it's almost a test case that will see how all of this other litigation plays out. So TikTok and Snapchat actually making the decision to settle. Those will be confidential terms, and there won't be any indication of wrongdoing. The settlement agreements will say that there's no admission of doing anything wrong. So keeping whether or not they will have liability for another day while the other two companies go to trial. And Gotti, this will be of serious consequence because this is the first time that we see these social media applications being treated more like products as opposed to the way that they've been really shielded from liability in the past. So this case is really going to dictate how a lot more litigation plays out.
Yeah, and speaking of shielding, I mean, the big shield on their backs for the longest time was Section 230, right, of the Communications Act. Anytime these companies are sued, Section 230 comes up. And the thought was it protected companies from being held liable. But what kind of precedent is this going to set, regardless of however this case moves forward?
So 230 provides substantial protections for social media platforms because what it says is that they cannot be held civilly liable for the content that third parties post. So this case is actually already setting precedent because the social media companies tried to get these cases thrown out before they ever made it to a jury on the basis of 230. But what was determined by the judge is that there's a question of causation. So was the mental health harm that's being alleged caused by the business model, the algorithm, the addictive nature of the app, or is it caused by the content? If it's caused by the content, 230 applies. But if it's caused by the actual business model, then we have an opening for liability against these companies.
Oh, wow. So when we're talking about the algorithm versus the content, yes, your son or your daughter was seeing a lot of content that was generated by people, and that would be shielded by 230, but the algorithm that decided to put that in front of people, that's what's at the core here, right? I mean, does it matter that the jurors are probably going to be? Oh, go ahead.
Oh, no, Gotti, you make an excellent point. What the allegation is that intentionally the companies have made the apps very, very addicting, and that is actually what causes the harm. And to your point, in jury selection, what we're going to hear is a lot of probing into social media use, whether children use it, whether or not there are parental controls that are being used, knowledge about the case. So there's going to be a lot of probes in social media because, listen, nobody can escape it. It permeates our life in every single way, no matter who you are. So seating a jury will be an interesting process.
Yeah, for the longest time, I mean, engagement and the algorithms and how people were kept on the app has been kind of this dark art that people don't know. We'll see what happens in Discovery on this one. Misty Marris, thank you so much.